I once believed in second chances, but not anymore. James's infidelity tore our family apart, and even if we try to rebuild, the scars run deep. My name is Sarah, and I'm 42 years old. It's a bit of a roller coaster, the story I'm about to share with you. Grab a cup of tea or your favorite beverage because this is quite a tale. You see, I've always been a laid-back kind of person, the complete opposite of my mother-in-law, Emily. She's sharp and efficient, and I've always admired her for it. But my husband, James, isn't too fond of her. He's always had this feud with Emily, believing that, as the eldest son, he should receive special treatment. But from what I've observed, Emily treats both James and his sister, Lily, the same way with fairness and care. Lily adores Emily, and I think James is just being difficult. About 2 years ago, Emily retired, and it marked the beginning of significant changes in our lives. Her zest for life seemed to wane after her husband, James's father, passed away. She used to talk about traveling with James after she retired, but that dream never became a reality. Something just didn't seem right with her lately. When I visited my in-laws, even I noticed that Emily was not herself. She'd forget recent conversations and misplace things. A sense of dread settled in my mind, but James showed no compassion for his mom. He suggested if she's got dementia, let's just put her in a facility. She has the money for it. I couldn't hold back my anger, saying, "She's your mother, can't you be more considerate?" But all James did was scoff. "You're practically brainwashed by Emily." David doesn't seem to like how much I admire my mother-in-law, so he said, "Why don't you, Sarah, take care of it then?" His words left me feeling hopeless, so I decided to reach out to my sister-in-law, Lily. Lily is a busy mom of two. Her eldest is in college, and her youngest is in middle school, plus she also works part-time, but she's someone I can rely on. As soon as I reached out to Lily, she offered to take my mother-in-law to the hospital right away, saying, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle it from here." However, I was still worried about Emily, so I decided to go to the hospital with Lily. After multiple visits and tests, Emily got diagnosed with dementia. The doctors suggested it was probably due to her retirement and the significant change in her lifestyle, especially after the loss of her husband. She needed a significant level of care. We all gathered to discuss the situation, including James and Lily's husband, Mark. Surprisingly, James stepped up and suggested, "Why don't we move in together and take care of Mom?" Lily already has her hands full with the kids, and we already live near my in-laws, so our lives wouldn't change much if we moved in. In contrast, Lily's family would have to change school districts, which would be a big deal, so I prepared myself for caregiving, and we moved in together with Emily. She seemed less energetic than before, but when I took her outside, her eyes lit up, and she became more like her old self. She loved the outdoors, and it seemed to lift her spirits. Thankfully, her dementia hadn't progressed much. On James's day off, I suggested going for a walk together. I told him, "The weather's nice. Why don't we go to the spa or something?" He had said he would help, but in reality, I was the one doing all the caregiving. I wondered what he thought he was doing. Still, the idea of going to the beach for a day was a good one, so I decided to look for a place we could visit. When I told Emily about it, she was thrilled. So we drove to a nearby spa, enjoyed the spa treatment, and had a meal. But when we got back, James was nowhere to be found. He didn't say anything about going anywhere. I called him concerned, but he didn't answer. Instead, I received a text message. He said he would be late because he was out drinking with friends. A bad feeling started growing inside me, and I became impatient with James's late return. I was about to go to bed when I heard a car pull up outside. Carefully peeking out of the upstairs window, I saw James getting out of an unfamiliar car. I quickly captured the moment with my phone's camera. It was too far to see clearly, but it seemed like a woman was in the driver's seat. I couldn't really tell what was going on, but from that day, I decided to keep a close eye on James' activities. 3 months had passed since then, and Emily's condition seemed a bit better than before. The doctor suggested that taking her outside and doing brain exercises might be helping her, but they stressed that we needed to keep it up as she wouldn't completely recover. Things had changed a bit since then. I started teaching Emily a bit of piano, and she began attending day services. She even made some new friends of her age, which seemed to be a good influence on her. Actually, when I first proposed the idea of her attending day services, James said something unbelievable. He was the one initially talking about putting her in a facility, but when it came to using day services, he said that it would reduce our inheritance. He said, "Why can't you just take care of her at home, Sarah?" James strongly opposed the idea, calling it a waste of money. Lily retorted, "Well then, James, why don't you take care of Mom for a day and give Sarah a break?" We finally managed to get her into day services. Lily not only came to pick up my mother-in-law for her hospital visits, but also visited us with her kids, bringing gifts and meals for me. I'd love to have her energy. She's truly her mother's daughter. While Emily and Lily have a great relationship, James seems to be bothered by it. Lately, he's been coming home late and even working on weekends. I tried to engage him in conversation about our day and ask him about his work to make him feel included at home. But he condescendingly said, "You wouldn't understand if I talked about work, right, Sarah? So what am I supposed to do then?" One day, my concerns suddenly became irrelevant. I noticed something unusual. James was packing a suitcase as he was about to leave in the morning. I couldn't help but ask, "What's with the luggage?" He replied, "I've got a business trip starting tonight and lasting through the weekend. Got told out of the blue yesterday. It's really a hassle." With those words, what could I do but agree? Still, even as James said he was annoyed, he seemed somewhat fidgety and happy. I asked, "How far are you going? And where was it again?" He replied, "I was just told yesterday. I have to head to the office." James avoided my eyes as he spoke, and I said, "All right, take care then." I rushed James out the door as we were running out of time and closed the front door. Just as I started feeling suspicious, Emily called out to me, "Good morning, Sarah." Emily added, "Wait, isn't this from the day spa we went to together?" What Emily was holding was a partially cut out flyer from that spa. I think it's something we both received and then discarded because we didn't need it. Upon closer look, it was a clipped coupon. Emily and I exchanged glances, and she went back to her room and showed me her diary. Ever since being diagnosed with dementia, she said she started keeping a journal. In it, there were entries that expressed suspicions about James's infidelity. Emily apologized to me, saying, "I'm sorry for not saying anything. I couldn't tell whether what's written here is true. And before I knew it, it's come to this." I was at a loss for words for a moment. The next words that came out were simply, "I see." Emily's face looked like she was about to cry, and that's when I put on a smile. "Thank you. Now I can be sure." Emily's expression changed completely. I told her that I, too, had suspicions about James's fidelity but couldn't bring it up for fear of making her sad. Today, Emily seemed to be in good spirits, almost as if she didn't suffer from dementia. I was now certain about James's infidelity, but I wanted proper evidence. When Emily asked what I wanted to do, I was able to clearly say that I wanted a divorce. Upon hearing this, Emily started making a phone call. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. The person who came in was a former colleague of Emily. It turns out Emily used to work at a law firm, and this person is a lawyer specializing in divorce cases. She never thought she'd be helping to sue her own son. I spoke with a lawyer to figure out what steps to take next. Just as we were discussing this, the doorbell rang again. It was Lily who walked in, and she said, "I'm so sorry for my good-for-nothing brother." I was surprised by Lily's deep apology, but it was comforting to know she was on my side. The next day, Emily and I headed to the spa in Lily's car. There, we saw the car that had dropped James off at our house several times. Then we spotted James with a woman. I took photos with my camera and noticed something shocking. The woman was holding a small boy, and my heart was pounding. I had previously found a child's toy in James's bag, and when I asked, he said he might have gotten it while dining out with a colleague's family and that he would return it. But now, I wondered if the toy belonged to this child. We gathered the evidence and went back home. I decided to go through with the divorce and set the plan in motion. First, I called a moving company and asked, "I consulted with you yesterday. Can we move out immediately?" The company checked and said, "Yes, we can." Emily quickly packed our essentials, and I called another service. Within an hour, the movers arrived and quickly loaded up our belongings. We left our stuff at Lily's place, and she helped us rent a monthly apartment. Lily's husband works in real estate, so we found us a place quickly. I still had one more thing to take care of as the movers left. Another service arrived, and I asked, "Is it okay to change the locks?" Emily and I nodded, and the work began. Now, James couldn't enter the house anymore, and since the property was under Emily's name, we didn't need his permission for anything. The next morning, I headed to the detective's office early. As unbelievable as it may seem, I had to confirm this. If there's a secret child, the investigation will reveal it. I believed that a wife had the right to know about her husband's situation. I reviewed the investigation results, and of course, just as I suspected, I was shocked. My husband, James, had a secret child. The child I saw yesterday must be James's cheating on me, having a child, and secretly acknowledging paternity. That's despicable. I was done having feelings for James, and I decided to get him back good. That night, I received a call from James, and he said, "Hey, I can't unlock the door. What's going on? Open the door, will you?" I replied, "I changed the locks, so obviously your keys won't work. You don't live here anymore. We've moved." James asked, "You changed the locks. Why?" I said, "You don't live here anymore." I added, "Also, we've moved, and you've been away on a business trip, remember?" James's voice was panicky, and he couldn't understand what was happening. I couldn't help but smile, imagining his confused face. I told him, "You leave your dementia-stricken mother with your wife and cheat on her, even have a kid, then lie about going on a business trip when you're actually at a spa and choose a hotel that your wife and mother have stayed at. What's wrong with you? Did you see a coupon for it at home? Using coupons that your wife saved to take your mistress on a trip? That's unthinkable." James tried to say something, but he was too flustered to speak. Finally, he managed to utter, "No, that's not it." His predictable response made me want to burst out laughing. At that point, Lily, who was standing next to me, couldn't hold back and shouted, "Then explain what's different." James was surprised to hear Lily's voice. I pretended to be clueless and said, "Oh, I have you on speakerphone so everyone can hear this conversation. Lily, my mother-in-law, and even my lawyer were present." James asked, "What are you doing?" I replied, "I haven't done anything. This is all a misunderstanding." I've never yelled at James before, but I couldn't help but raise my voice this time. I said, "This is no misunderstanding. Don't you get it? You're insulting not just me, but your mistress and even your own child. Do you plan on calling that child a mistake?" James went silent, and I said, "I'm getting a divorce. Do what you want after that." I hung up, and Emily, who had been listening the whole time, broke into tears. Days later, James and I officially divorced. Emily moved in with Lily. I bought an apartment nearby and continued to maintain a good relationship with Emily and Lily's family. Life took a significant turn after the divorce. My relationship with Emily and Lily became even stronger as we supported each other through the challenging transition. James, on the other hand, remained distant. I decided to focus on rebuilding my life and nurturing my newfound independence. With Emily and Lily's encouragement, I embraced my new career as a music therapist, dedicating my time to helping others find solace and joy through music. It was fulfilling work that allowed me to connect with people on a deeper level. Emily's condition also improved gradually, thanks to the consistent care and attention we provided. But the story doesn't end there. It was during this period of healing and growth that I received an unexpected phone call. The voice on the other end was James's, and his tone was surprisingly somber. He said he wanted to meet in person to talk. I was hesitant at first, unsure of what to expect, but curiosity got the better of me, and we arranged a meeting. As we sat in a quiet cafe, he began to speak, revealing his side of the story. James confessed to his infidelity, the child he had hidden from me, and his guilt about abandoning Emily. He admitted that he had made a terrible mistake, but he seemed genuinely remorseful. He was aware of the pain he had caused both his family and me. Torn between anger and pity, I couldn't help but listen. James explained how he had been trapped in a cycle of lies and deceit, trying to keep his secret hidden while feeling overwhelmed by guilt and shame. He had finally come to terms with the gravity of his actions and the pain he had inflicted. James wanted to make amends. He proposed counseling and therapy to address the issues in our relationship, to help us heal from the past, and to ensure a better future for Emily. He was willing to be a part of Emily's life again, not just as her son, but as a devoted caregiver. My emotions were a whirlwind as I listened to him. Part of me wanted to give him a chance for the sake of Emily, who deserved the care and support of her family. But another part of me questioned whether I could ever trust him again after the betrayal. The conversation ended with no clear resolution. I needed time to think, to process everything James had revealed and decide if there was room for forgiveness and reconciliation. We left the cafe with a heavy sense of uncertainty, not knowing what the future held. Back home, I shared the details of the meeting with Emily and Lily. They were both cautious but open to the idea of family therapy and the possibility of James re-entering our lives. The three of us discussed the matter at length, weighing the pros and cons of giving James a second chance. In the end, we decided that family therapy was a step in the right direction, not just for James but for all of us. It was a chance to address our issues, heal the wounds, and create a supportive environment for Emily. The therapy sessions were emotionally charged, bringing to the surface years of unresolved conflicts and hurt. It was a long and challenging journey, but gradually we began to understand each other better and find common ground. Forgiveness wasn't immediate, but it was a seed sown in the fertile ground of our shared history. As the therapy continued, James actively participated, proving his commitment to change and to being there for his mother. He visited Emily regularly, taking an active role in her care and demonstrating a newfound dedication. It was a long process of rebuilding trust and repairing our damaged family bonds. Over time, the wounds began to heal, and we found a new sense of harmony and balance within our family. It was far from perfect, but it was a testament to the power of forgiveness and the capacity for change. We learned that sometimes second chances can lead to unexpected redemption. The story isn't over yet. Our journey continues as we navigate the complexities of family dynamics, forgiveness, and healing. With time, patience, and a shared commitment to Emily's well-being, we hope to create a stronger and more resilient family unit. Life is full of twists and turns, and while we can't change the past, we can shape our future. Our family, once torn apart by secrets and betrayals, now stands on the path to healing and reconciliation, one step at a time.